I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man. I can do it all, I will never fall. It's the Renaissance, you know that I got the mother sauce, man. You know I'm the boss, I know what it costs. Have you ever lost? I'm so versatile, yeah, I'm a Renaissance, man.
Congratulations, brother.
And here we go. It's episode 19 of the Hangar Hangout. Again, we're talking about freaking the New York Jets. I mean, that's the name of the show, right? It's all about the New York Jets. We're in training camp week 3 now, but in all actuality, we got freaking preseason football this weekend. Like, it's official. Like, football is legitimately back. When you start talking about preseason and being the degenerate that I am, and I know a lot of people probably don't watch preseason football, I am thoroughly looking forward to having eyes on some actual NFL football this weekend. Even though we know the majority of it isn't going to be our starters, even though we know the majority of it is kind of like watered down a little bit, I'm pumped. I'm extremely pumped. So tonight we're going to go ahead and talk about the New York Jets. Of course, this training camp rotation. Hassan Reddick is still a no-show. The unofficial depth chart was recently released. We're going to go ahead and touch on that. I got Mike, the stat guy, joining me tonight. So we're going to go ahead and have a bit of a collaboration. If you're interested in jumping on and giving your takes, feel free. I'll add the link in the chat sometime in the next half hour or so. But I wanted to go ahead and take a moment to let everybody know that the channel is officially now doing channel memberships. I want to invite you guys to go ahead and check out the membership criteria. There's going to be some awesome stuff in there to include articles that's being written by yours truly, putting them out there weekly. There's going to be some extra perks as well in regards to some giveaways. The Fantasy Football League is kicking off here in a couple of weeks. So if you're interested in having access to these perks of being one of Gunny's Fire Team members, definitely take a look at the Fire Team perks. Again, wrote an article today, did some research that I was going to do a video on. The video won't be coming out until probably later on this week, but it's a video, or it's an article that I wrote. It's obviously there for the members only right now. If you want to check it out, I really think you'll enjoy it. It kind of breaks down just how elite Garrett Wilson truly is. And it's, again, me trying to go ahead and create some information content by doing some research, looking up some data. And it just came to fruition when I was looking this up, and I realized this kid is really good. Garrett Wilson is really, really good to have accomplished what he's accomplished, dealing with these level of freaking, I want to say, hindrances when it comes to playing NFL football. But if you want to check out the article, you got to be a member. It's only for the members right now. But I will be doing a video about this. If not this week, it'll be next week, and it'll be out there. But without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on my freaking my guest for the night, my boy Mike, the stat guy. What's up, Mike? How you doing, brother?
Pretty good, Gunny. Man, I'm so excited to be back. I know it's been a minute, but as a fan of your channel, I'm so happy to be on here, and hopefully I can give a little bit of insight.
Man, listen, it's always a blast to have you, man. It's been a while, right? I know we talk literally every freaking day. Every freaking day we're in our group chat chatting up, talking football. So it was just a matter of time, man. You've been doing some traveling for the summer, so I know you were a busy guy. So I do appreciate you making the time to go ahead and get out here and talk football with me tonight, man. So how's your vacation been? How's your summer been right now?
Oh, man, summer's been great. I've been doing a lot of traveling. I went to Asia, whatnot, as you know. Right now, I am in upstate New York, where I'm from, visiting my family. So being able to hang out there, which is awesome. And then pretty soon, in the next couple of weeks or so, I'm going to be heading back to the south where I live. So yeah, it's everything's going really good. Summer's been great. Work's been going pretty good. So really can't really complain. And then speaking of summertime, this is the greatest time of the year, really, to be a Jets fan. The off season. So. We have a lot of hope. We're undefeated in 2024 right now because we won our final game against Bill Belichick. So we're 1-0, baby. So we're gonna keep that going. But my summer's been great, Gunny.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. It's been pretty fun for me too, man. My kids go back to school officially tomorrow. Not sure how they're dealing with it, but personally for me, I'm happy for them. I want this for them. I'm excited that they get to go back to school. They've been hanging around the house a little too long, just running up their electricity bill, playing video games in the AC. So I'm excited for them. They get to go back to school tomorrow. So my summer is coming to an end as theirs does, and I'm happy about it personally. So it's been a pretty good summer. now ready for fall to get here, especially because when you talk about fall, you're talking about football. Hey, man, we've got preseason football this freaking weekend. The New York
Hell
Jets
yeah.
are playing preseason football. We've been talking about training camp. You know what I'm saying? I've been going back and forth with you about it.
Yep.
Just give me a little synopsis of what you've thought thus far about training camp. How are you feeling about our New York Jets?
Yeah, man. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to physically be in training camp as of yet due to the all the traveling that I've been doing. However, like this year, what I've noticed so far from all the insiders that we have there, from all the other Jets content creators that go out there and do a great job and either record or talk about what's been going on. But man, this year, and I say this every single year, but this year just feels so much different in terms of our offensive firepower. Every single year, I've been following training camp since 2012, and every single year, it seems like the defense just beats up on the offense every day, all day long. The offense can never get ahead, but it seems like this year, man. With our firepower that we have, with Garrett Wilson coming on and Malachi Corley coming on, and even guys like Alan Lazard, who we gave up on last year, he's having a very strong camp too. So all these guys on offense are firing on all cylinders. They're doing really well as far as the reports are concerned. And it seems like a tale of two cities when it comes to last year versus this year. The defensive line was in the backfield almost every single play last year at this time in August, right? This year, it's completely different. Yes, they do get through sometimes, but as the reporting comes out, our offensive line is doing really well. I know Tyron Smith is taking a few days here and there. He's on and off, and in terms of bringing him on, and of course Morgan Moses, who we brought back. But guys like Olu Fashanu is lighting it up. New guys like Quantez Stiggers, the MVP of the Canadian Football League last year, who we drafted. He's lighting it up, and we're gonna, I'm sure we're gonna talk about him even more. But he's lighting it up. So I am so excited about this training camp and them being able to just step up. We have accountability for once in forever from the coaches. If you have a false start on the offensive line, guess what? Your butt is out of there. So things are finally changing when it comes to training camp, when it comes to practices, and I am all on board. I love this train, and I am ready to ride on it and go all the way through, man. I am so excited.
Man, all right, okay, Mike. Listen, Mike is one of my what I like to call one of my optimistic, pessimistic Jets fans, right? So he's a guy that loves to be logical. Every time we talk, it's about what this team can truly accomplish based off of what the analytics are telling him. He tries to go ahead and keep his emotions in check most times, but it sounds like you're bought in right now, Mike. It sounds like you're excited about what this team can accomplish this year.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you this: the stock market may have tanked a little bit yesterday, but I'm buying all the stock. I'm buying all the stock right now in the Jets. Obviously, I'm a homer, but I'm buying all the stock right now. In my eyes, we're going undefeated until we're not. So, I am very optimistic when it comes to this team. However, I am more realistic than I am optimistic, I would say, because this is the most talented roster that we've had, and we're going to go through the depth chart. But this is the most talented roster that probably we've ever had in my lifetime. Now, I didn't say the best roster or the best team. This is the most talented team, the talented roster. There is a difference between most talented and the best, but this is by far, in my opinion, the most talented roster that I've ever seen in my life. And I'm 30 years old, so
it's gonna be a good show tonight. I want to say what's up to Frankie from Flatbush, man. Nice to go ahead and have you in the building. Always a pleasure. Infrared Jets, what's good, man? We got OOK. We got Matthias Simon. Man, we got a crowd tonight, man. I appreciate you guys chopping it up with us. So let's talk about the depth chart. So recently, the New York Jets just kind of released their unofficial depth chart. Now, we all know that when it comes to this unofficial depth chart, it could mean a whole lot of nothing. The New York Jets over the last couple of years have kind of put it out initially, but you've kind of seen it to where they haven't kind of put their, I guess you would say, like the rookies in terms of some of these. I'm looking at, I'm thinking to myself, why isn't so-and-so ahead of so-and-so? I digress. But this doesn't mean anything, but it's something to still talk about. A lot of guys to go ahead and potentially get some playing time this weekend. So I'm excited to see it. So let's just go ahead and bring up the depth chart here. And thanks again, by the way, Mike, for teaching me that pretty awesome tool of zooming in on a Mac so everybody can see this thoroughly. So here we have it. It's the Jets unofficial depth chart. All right, going by the position groups. First, we've got, of course, the wide receivers. Again, I wrote a pretty awesome article about the Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 1 for the New York Jets. If you're not a channel member, I'm telling you, even if you just want to be a channel member and check out some of the articles I've written for the channel members, I think you'll appreciate it. And then if not, you can go ahead and pretty much cancel your channel membership. But that article to me was pretty awesome when I actually did the research and I realized, wow, what he's been able to accomplish over the last couple of years facing some of the quarterback play that he's had to face. It's literally historical. So give that a read if you have a chance to go ahead and join a channel membership. But in terms of the wide receiver room, we've got Garrett Wilson as wide receiver 1. No surprise there. Malik Taylor's right behind him. And then you've got Lance McCutcheon and then Tyler Harrell. In terms of the wide receivers, anything you would see differently in regards to this one?
For the first, second, third, and fourth string, is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
No. So, in terms of the second string, now we have guys, in particular, like Mike Williams, who isn't playing, but we are very top heavy when it comes to our receiver room, and for the first, second, third, fourth string in terms of the what is it, the Z or the X position, whatever. Yeah, Malik Taylor, I can see making the team. I don't see Lance McCutcheon or Tyler Harrell making the team. But as of right now, I have Malik Taylor being wide receiver 6 until Mike Will comes back. And I don't think Malik Taylor is going to make the roster. He's going to be on the practice squad, I would say. But we have wide receiver 1, we have Garrett Wilson. Wide receiver 2, as of right now, is Allen Lazard. Which, going back to your point, when it comes to Garrett Wilson, he's had, I think it was last time I read, it was like 7 quarterbacks in his 2 years of playing. Allen Lazard has only had 1 quarterback, aside from Aaron Rodgers. So he has actually had 2 quarterbacks. Allen Lazard started out with just 1 quarterback, and I think it's like his first 4 years. So the fact that Garrett Wilson is able to achieve so much as wide receiver 1 with all these quarterbacks, he's going to be in for a great year this year, guys. I really do believe that. My projection as of right now, I think is around 1,500 yards. There are some people saying that he could hit 2,000 yards. So we can really see him go off this year. And then as of right now, like I said, Allen Lazard, number 2 wide receiver. I'm not really feeling that. I'm hopefully either Corley or Mike Williams can get healthy real quick, and Williams can take that number 2 receiver spot. And then Xavier Gibson in the slot right now. I'm hoping that Corley can leapfrog him and be our slot guy. Now, one thing that I really want to harp on here, one thing that I notice is that when it comes to these depth charts, and there's like 3 or 4 depth charts that are going to be released up until the first game of the season. Usually the first depth chart, all the rookies are basically shoved to the back of the line, and they are, third, fourth string players. On this depth chart, we're seeing that these young guys are second string, some third string, but a lot of them are second string players. Like Malachi Corley, as of right now, is the backup slot wide receiver. So he could, at any point, he can leapfrog Xavier Gibson and take that slot position, which is what I'm really hoping for. But in terms of our wide receiver room, they're doing really well. One name here, Gunny, next to Malachi Corley is, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but it's Hamza El Zayat. This guy has been flying all over the field.
All over the field.
Aaron Rodgers is throwing dots to him, and this kid is something else. I didn't even know his name until I think it was last week, and this kid is just crushing it in training camp right now. So I am super excited about these guys. Any one of these guys can really surprise you and be that kind of 6th guy, which, by the way, I think we're going to have about 6 wide receivers to round out our final depth chart to make our roster. And any one of these guys at the end can really make a push for it and be that 6th guy. But so, going forward, if we do any more of these, we should really take a look at who's going to make that cut and be that 5th and 6th guy.
Yeah, no, 100%, right? So I'm reading off what Frankie said here. 2,000 yards would be the greatest wide receiver season of all time. I believe so. That would be sweet. Listen, it would be astronomical if Garrett Wilson hit 2,000 receiving yards this year. And I'm not going to lie to you, after doing the research that I did, it would not shock me in the least bit if he got that. I really did not. I mean, I understood that he was dealing with multiple quarterbacks. I understood that, the quarterbacks he was dealing with weren't actually, even average quarterbacks at the NFL level. But you don't realize how bad it was until you start looking at some of the data points behind what he's had to endure and how he's been able to achieve back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, to include being the Offensive Rookie of the Year. If Aaron Rodgers is even the 15th best quarterback in the NFL, I think Garrett Wilson is going for between 1,500 and 2,000 yards. That's how ridiculous that he was able to achieve what he's achieved the last 2 years when you look at the actual data in terms of what he had to endure. It wouldn't shock me if he did it. And yeah, I'm with you, Frankie. I think it would be insanely awesome to have Garrett Wilson be that freaking guy to hit 2,000 receiving yards. I think only 3 wide receivers has ever done it, if I'm not mistaken. Is it 3 or is it 2?
I thought it was 2. Maybe it is 3.
Let me see here. 2,000 yards in a season.
But I completely agree with you, though. I really do. I really do think that Garrett Wilson has the potential to be one of those guys that can hit 2K.
Okay. So Calvin Johnson, Cooper Kupp are the 2 individuals who ever do it.
Yeah, wow. and Garrett Wilson, if him and Rodgers can stay healthy, I don't see why not. I really don't.
Yeah. It would not shock me in the least bit if that occurred. But yeah, in terms of our wide receiver room, I for one, I have my concerns and I don't. Right, I think when it comes down to Garrett Wilson, wide receiver 1, I love it. Mike Williams, wide receiver 2. Again, we're still waiting to kind of get him out there and seeing what he's going to look like. I would love that as well. I think he's going to, at the very least, be 70% of what we saw in with the Chargers, and that's going to be more than enough, in my opinion, in terms of what he brings to the table. Allen Lazard has found, I don't want to call it the fountain of youth, but he's remembered how to play football.
The fountain of Rodgers.
There's the fountain of Rodgers, because during this training camp, you've seen him make play time and time and time again. He's starting to make me believe, like, wow, this is the guy we thought we were getting last year in terms of being a viable wide receiver 2. But the great part is he'd be wide receiver 3, maybe 4 if Malachi Cordy really shines the way we're expecting him to. And that's a great position to be in. So you were saying how we're top heavy, and I agree. I still think that in terms of wide receiver 1 and 2, you feel really, really comfortable. But if wide receiver 3 and 4, in terms of Malachi Cordy or Allen Lazard, however you want to switch them, this decides to show out, that is a potent wide receiver room. You add the fact that one of these guys, the Hamza Al-Zayat guy, I'm not going to lie to you, seeing him make the kind of catches he's made, hearing his name throughout training camp, he's got my attention, right? I actually did my video yesterday or Sunday on the training from last week, and I couldn't help myself but mention the kid because he's been impressing. But Jason Brownlee's also been impressing as well, and this is a guy that we're hoping last year was going to go ahead and show out as potentially wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. Again, kind of disappointed. Is it him? Is it the quarterback play? We won't know, but he's been shining thus far in training camp. So I think there's a couple of real legitimate options there for players who can make this roster. And we're going to probably wind up letting go of somebody who impressed in training camp that we hope makes the practice squad. But the wide receiver room is starting to me, in my opinion, kind of fine-tune itself until, like, you're seeing clearly the tiers of caliber of players you've got on this roster. Oh, and by the way, the New York Jets have been, tied to Devontae Adams and now freaking Brandon Ayuk, who you and I were talking about earlier today. And I think me and Gino both told you, I think the way you're putting it out there, that's freaking Madden you're trying to go ahead and play. But
wait, we're tied to Ayuk now? I was a little bit busy before the show. There's rumbling saying that we are interested?
Yeah, so an article that was put out there by PFN is that the fifth team that's been in the backdrop this whole time, it's the freaking New York Jets. Again, I don't know if it's been verified.
I'm telling you.
But you did mention it, and it does make sense. The New York Jets were in on the Tyreek Hill thing. The New York Jets did try to go ahead and bring in Devontae Adams. And now you're talking about Brandon Ayuk, who's out there. And like you were saying earlier, the points you brought up were perfect.
They tried trading up for Malik Neighbors.
Yep, correct.
They tried trading up for Odunze. They missed that. They tried trading for Justin Jefferson during the draft, apparently. So they're desperately trying to get a receiver. Now, obviously, our fallback plan is going to be Devontae Adams during the season, of course. But if we could add a guy like Ayuk, I mean, why not? And to those people that are saying we can't afford him, I think we can afford him because we don't have to pay Garrett or any of our 22 draft class until 2026. Even if we extend them early, which some people are saying, oh, well, we can extend them early. Yes, I understand that. We can extend them early, but their money doesn't hit until 2026. We can extend them right now today, but their extension money will not hit until 2026. So don't worry about the whole they want to get signed early. We can sign them early. That's fine. But we can afford Ayuk. We can afford like a trade for Devontae Adams. We can do this, guys. If we can really add this, that we would propel ourselves forward to really go and try and win this freaking thing all the way.
Listen, after we spoke this morning, and I know I had my pessimistic, comical, haha, that's crazy, it's not going to happen. But then when you broke down the reasons why it could happen and why the Jets would be interested, I sat there and I was just like, damn, man, you're right. That makes a lot of sense. And then my brother-in-law, who's a big Steelers fan, has been tracking this whole thing back and forth with his team. He reached out to me and he says, you son of a bitch, you guys are the dark horse team that's in the conversation. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, PFN wrote an article that the New York Jets are the dark horse team right now. That's that fourth or fifth team that's talking to the 49ers about a potential trade. And then I'm like, wow, again, makes sense. You've seen them make these moves to try to go ahead and get another receiver in the building. Even after getting Mike Williams, the conversation was to move up to go ahead and get a Rome Odunze. So they do believe they want another weapon in that building for Aaron Rodgers. Brandon Ayuk, man, I think would be a stud addition. Devontae Adams, I think, would be a stud addition. I don't know if we get both. I think if we go Brandon Ayuk, then the Devontae Adams dream, in my opinion, is dead. But you did bring up not if Devontae Adams is a free agent next season because of the cap hit that he would have for the the Vegas Raiders.
I always say Oakland too. Vegas. I always do that too, the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, it throws me off. But then I looked at it and you were right. It's going to be a $45 million cap hit next year. There's no way. And if they don't play well, he's leaving. He's leaving. The guy wants to win a ring before he retires. Maybe he takes a team-friendly deal to come play one more year with his boy Aaron Rodgers. Could you imagine a wide receiver room that has freaking Garrett Wilson, Brendan Ayuk, and Devontae Adams in it? Malachi Corley bringing up that will be disgusting on so many levels.
I don't see why not, Gunny. And to those people that are saying you can't afford it, listen, Miami is paying Tua, Waddle, and Tyreek a combined over $110 million per year. Per year combined, right? In 2025, let's say we have a roster of Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Brandon Ayuk, and Devontae Adams. It's not even going to break $100 million for all four of those players combined. You guys have to understand that Aaron Rodgers, he was a man's man, a player, and he took a huge pay cut so that he's not making that much money. I'm pretty sure the 2025 cap hit for him, I think, is like $23 million or something like that. Garrett's is going to be like $6 or $7 million, meaning we can add Devontae Adams, who would be happily taking a slight discount to play with his boy Rodgers and go chase another Super Bowl, especially if you win one in 2024. Let's say we trade for Ayuk now, pay him $25-30 million per year. We win a Super Bowl now. You don't think Devontae Adams is going to want to come here in 2025 for a little bit cheaper and win another Super Bowl? We can do this. Like, we can win back-to-back Super Bowls with this firepower that we've never, that we haven't had ever. So, I mean, it's a pipe dream. I know it's probably not going to happen. It's like a very small percentage of a chance.
But you're saying there's a chance.
If you're saying there's a chance, there's a chance. So if I had to build a roster right now, in terms of the best chance to get us to the promised land of the Super Bowl, I'm bringing in Ayuk, and then hell, if the Vegas Raiders aren't doing so hot, I'm trying to trade for him as well. Screw it. And if not, 2025, we all know he's going to be cut because of that cap hit. The Raiders are not paying him $45 million a year. They're going to cut him, or they're going to trade him on the cheap, relieve some of that cap space, and we can go after him then. But I really do think that we should be trying to get Ayuk as of right now. It just makes too much sense. We might not get him. We're probably not going to get him, but it just makes too much sense for us to try and go and get this guy.
So Dan stated that he's pretty sure the 49ers have already agreed to trade compensation with a few teams, just waiting on teams to work out a deal with Ayuk. That is true. The conversation is that the Cleveland Browns and the Patriots have a deal in place, or that the 49ers favor, but Brandon Ayuk is not willing to go to one of those teams. In my opinion, I'm pretty positive it's the Patriots. So then it's probably the numbers game in terms of the freaking Browns. But the Browns are in a really bad situation in terms of cap as well. Come next year, they're going to be $27 million in the hole. So they're not really in a position, really, unless they're going to restructure a lot of contracts to make it work. So I think that's why the 49ers openly stated today that they've given permission for Brandon Ayuk to seek out a trade partner, so they can go ahead and listen to offers. So I think the teams that the 49ers wanted to work with are not teams specifically that works well for Brandon Ayuk. So they've given him the green light to go figure it out. But I think they have a particular number or trade compensation in mind for him. Again, I'm not giving up the farm for Brandon Ayuk. I'm not. I mean, this is a guy who I think has put up maybe top 15, top 16 stats in the league over the last couple of years. But again, that's him as option number 4 or 5 on the 49ers. So that's saying a lot. I do have some question marks on how well he'll do against being a wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3. He struggled a little bit against press coverage in the playoffs. We kind of seen him get thrown off track quite a bit. So there's some concerns there. But everything you hear about him from teammates, man, is that this is a guy who's a team player. His teammates love him. So, again, he'd be a welcomed addition in that aspect. But I do believe his main priority right now is money, and then a championship second, because the 49ers probably have the easiest track to get into the Super Bowl in the NFC. For him to want to leave that team, I think money is his biggest motivator, and to each their own. I don't think it's going to happen. I will say this though.
Yeah.
After talking to Mike, I'm like, I could see it being something that Jets would want to happen. It makes a lot of sense for it to happen. But in terms of what Brandon Ayuk is looking for, I don't think it's going to be the case. But Davante Adams, I do believe, is going to be a New York Jet before the season is over. I'm 100% bought into that. The fact is, have anybody seen the Netflix's special called Wide Receiver? You saw this man literally struggling, talking about he's going to get killed out there playing for this team. And yeah, when they made the change to Coach Pierce, I think it bought them a little bit more time. But if they start off slow this season, there's not a doubt in my mind that he's going to say, okay, I'm here to win games and win a Super Bowl. I want to get me another ring. He's also mentioned it several times in the offseason. The Vegas Raiders are not in contention to be Super Bowl contenders. They're just not. We don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. So he's been very vocal about saying that numerous times this offseason. And if you've watched the receivers on Netflix with what he was saying last year on this roster, this is a guy right now who just needs a little bit of a push to go ahead and request that trade out of there. And I think it's going to happen. I think the Jets are already kind of in a bubble like, hey, listen, if you ever want to move freaking Davante, give us a call. We've got a couple of packages for you guys. And I don't believe it's going to cost us a first rounder. People are saying it's going to be a first round. No, it's not.
No.
Davante Adams is 31 years old. Yes, he still does Davante Adams things, but you're not going to invest a first round pick to go ahead and bring in a guy who's on the back end of his career. So I think Davante Adams is a possibility to add to this wide receiver room. But for now, this is our depth chart. This is what we got. Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard. Then we've got Xavier Gibson, Malachi Corley, and then a couple of these surprise guys and Jason Brownlee and potentially El Zayat. So, and this is, again, without having Mike Williams out there because he's coming back from that injury. So that's the wide receiver room. So let's look at the tight end room. Tight ends, we've got Jeremy Ruckert and Tyler Conklin. As the tight ends.
Yep.
Yeah. And then behind them, you've got behind Jeremy, you've got Kenny Yeboah. Then the guy Lincoln Sefcik. And then behind,
I'm gonna be honest, I've never heard of him. I think he's the guy we just grabbed from
the Lions.
Yeah,
I think he was the guy we just signed. Behind Tyler, we got Zach Kuntz and Anthony Firkser. Let's be honest.
Yeah, so
it's Conklin, Zach Kuntz, Ruckert, and Yeboah will be the tight ends on this roster if we keep 4. I think we're keeping 3.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
how do you feel about the tight end room?
I'll tell you this: all those Bauer boys who wanted Brock Bowers, I'm really happy right now in terms of our choice, which was Olufashanu, and our tight end room. Man, I am a believer in Conklin. I think Conklin is really really good. I think with Rodgers, he could be easily a top 15 tight end in the league. Like no question with Rodgers, he's a top 15 tight end in the league. Possibly even top 10 maybe, but honestly, I am just fine with Conklin. Rucker as our blocking tight end, maybe he can grow a little bit more. I am completely fine with that group there, and then we're gonna have like a Yaboa as our third or Kuntz, but most likely it's gonna be Yaboa as our third guy. But I'm really comfortable with our tight end group here. I don't see a need to upgrade until at minimum next year. Maybe even I think this is Conklin's last year, so maybe depending on how well he does, maybe we could re-sign him. But Conklin has just been crushing it all year. He was crushing it last year with Rodgers. If you guys haven't noticed, last year he was crushing it with Rodgers during the summer, and all of a sudden we all know what happened with Aaron Rodgers. And he still produced a little bit, even with Trash Wilson and Timmy has Boyles. So he's not a bad tight end, guys. He really is going to be a top 15 with Rodgers.
Yeah, now listen, I'm a huge fan of Tyler Conklin. I was definitely Team Conklin over freaking Team Bowers. I don't even know we've heard anything about Bowers at all throughout training camp. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or bad, but I have not heard anything. I've heard about everybody, Marvin Harrison, freaking Neighbors. You've heard about Joe Alt. I've heard nothing about Bowers. But for me, I think that the tight end room is pretty solid. And I think by being solid, they have the potential to go ahead and see a different tier of being good to really good. Tyler Conklin to me is significantly underrated and in my opinion been significantly disrespected. The fact that the dude has been able to achieve top 10 numbers in terms of tight end stats over the last freaking couple of years with, as you were saying earlier, Trash Wilson and Tim Boyles as his quarterback goes to show you what this guy is capable of. He's had an incredible camp thus far as well. Contested catches out the ass. Tyler Conklin, to me, is going to make a name for himself this season. I think as that freaking guy that Rodgers can get the ball to, he's going to make a name for himself. But I also really love Jeremy Ruckert. I feel like we haven't really seen him play the tight end position. Now, granted, tight end I think is one of the more complicated positions in sports because you're talking about a potential player who's got to not only be a wide receiver for you, but also a blocker for you as well. Understanding the many concepts, the many schemes, understanding the adjustments, understanding the audibles. I think tight end is significantly more complicated than we give credit to it. But year 3 is around the time frame. You're going to know whether or not your dude can play the position at a full scope. You've got your outliers that can go ahead and come out there like your Laportas, and you know he's a receiving threat, etc. But in terms of the full scope of what the tight end position entails, I believe by year 3, you're going to know. And I love what Jeremy Ruckert is made of. And it's not just because he's a Jets fan. I love the fact that the kid has literally had to earn it every step of the way. And every time he was challenged, he stepped up to the plate. And I love the origin story because you're starting to go ahead and see a lot of these guys, you know what I'm saying, like what the foundation looks like in these guys. And I think those foundations go a long way to kind of giving you an idea of who these guys are in terms of character-wise. And he's a guy that's never pretty much backed down from anything. It seems like I think this year he should take that next step. I think our tight end room is going to surprise us this year. I'm not going to say one or the 100%. Other can single-handedly surpass or be a top 3 or top 2 tight end. But as a group between Ruckert and freaking Conklin, I think they're going to be a top 2 to top 5 unit in terms of tight end production in the league this year. I like our tight end room a lot.
I agree. And Gunny, going back to Conklin, I just looked up the stats. Here's a stat for you guys. He was number 13 in terms of receiving yards last year. 13 for tight end. He is definitely going to be a top 10 tight end with Rodgers. I can guarantee to you that he is going to be a top 10 tight end this year. I promise you guys.
I didn't understand the hate. I didn't understand the quickness to want to go ahead and bring in a guy that's a weapon at the next level when you couldn't even identify his position. But yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Conklin is going to make a lot of the Bowers guys, the Bowers boys, so to speak, really look and be like, damn, all right, glad we actually kept freaking Conklin because I'm pretty positive Olu Fashanu is going to be a statement player for us this year, one way or another. But we're about to get to the offensive line next, which brings us to our left tackle position where you've got, LT1, baby, Tyron Smith. You got Olu Fashanu behind him. Obane Easy behind him. Left guard, we got John Simpson, Jake Hansen. At center, we've got Joe Tippmann. Joe Tippmann.
Joe Yipman.
Yeah, he needs to get his mind right. Chris Glazer. Right guard, Elijah Vera Tucker, and then we got Wes Schweitzer. And then, of course, at right tackle, we got Morgan Moses, who's back in pads. He's practicing with the freaking other starting guys, which I love to see it. Max Mitchell, and then, of course, Carter Warren. Our offensive line is completely revamped. I'm beyond ecstatic for it. To me, it was a need that we talked about when the season was coming to an end, and we never in our most daunting dreams thought we would have this quality of an upgrade across the entire offensive line as we currently have. So starting with, of course, the dude himself, Tyron Smith. How do you feel about our offensive line in general?
In terms of the offensive line in general, I think this is without a doubt easily top 15 offensive line. Depending on how well they gel together, they could even be top 10. Tyron Smith, I was so excited that we were to bring in Tyron Smith. This guy is going to be a staple at that left tackle position. And then sitting right behind him is our young buck, Olu Fashanu, a.k.a. the new DeBrickashaw Ferguson, a.k.a. the anti-Mekhi Becton, baby. This kid, I'm telling you right now, is going to do big things. He is going to shut players down on the opposing side. And listen, he's already taking first team reps right now. We brought him in to be an investment piece for next year or in the upcoming years. But make no mistake, guys, this is your kid that you want right now, who can come in at any time, any moment. And that was one of the knocks on Tyron Smith. As good as he is, as elite as he is, he can get injured or be taken out of the game at any moment. This kid Olu Fashanu is going to come in and he's going to play, and he's going to play at a high level. I can guarantee that. In terms of the third string left tackle, the Edsay or Easy, whatever his name is, hopefully he's not easy and lets people get around him for sacks. If we're relying on our third string left tackle, hopefully it never comes to that. But in terms of the other guys, listen, we all know AVT can play if he stays healthy. If AVT can stay healthy, this kid's going to be one of the best guards in the NFL, right? Then we have Morgan Moses. He's a familiar face. We all know Morgan Moses. Joe Douglas should have never even let him walk out the building to go to another team. We got him back. We traded for him in the offseason here. We got him back. He's going to be great at right tackle for us this year. I know he's going to be doing really, really well. He's coming back from an injury, but we're ramping him up. He's going to be just fine for week one. And then in terms of the left guard and center, now this is what kind of worries me a little bit. John Simpson, he is great in the run game. There's no knocking him in the run game. However, he's not as strong in the pass game, but I think he's going to do just fine, especially with Tyron Smith on his left, and then Tippmann in the center there. As good as Tippmann has been playing in terms of his pass blocking, his run blocking. Now, the snap issue, Gunny, if you want to talk about that, has been an issue. Now, listen, he is tied for being the tallest center in the NFL. And what does that mean? That means that his arms are probably longer than most centers, right? And his legs are probably longer than most centers. He is, on average, 2 to 3 inches taller than the average center in the NFL. He's 6'6". Yep. The average center in the NFL is 6'3". Some guys are 6'4", but most of them are around that 6'3" range. He's 6'6". So he needs to get his butt down. Damian Woody, one of the great Jets linemen that we've had, made a comment saying he needs to get his butt down and in order for him to snap it right and not snap it too high. Gunny, if you want to touch on that and give your thoughts.
Yeah. But listen, so the Tippmann thing for me has been kind of frustrating because I get it. People are going to say it's just August. It's August. You've got time to clean it up. And you're probably right. They probably do. But I watched him during the green versus white scrimmage throw one over freaking Aaron Rodgers' head. And Aaron Rodgers, being the competitor that he is, naturally proceeds to chase the ball down. And if it wasn't for him rocking that red jersey, he could get hurt. Like, that could get him crushed. Him doing that in the game. Him doing that against one of the other teams in the preseason if he decides to go ahead and take a couple of snaps. Aaron Rodgers is a competitor mentally. He's not going to think about, oh, I got to protect myself, vice the ball. He's going to, of course, try to go ahead and get to the ball. And it worries me because getting Aaron Rodgers hurt over a bad snap and he has to go ahead and sacrifice himself to kind of save a play is not something any of us signs up for. The Tippmann thing, one time, okay, cool. 2 times, all right, fine. We're going on 4 or 5 times now. He's had some pretty bad snaps. He's ended freaking not plays, but he's ended drives with these freaking bad snaps. Like, it's becoming a trend, or not a trend, it's a habit, or it's concerning. It's concerning. I get it. It's August, but I'm concerned about it because there's a solution that's very easy. You bring in a guy like McGovern to be the backup center. I'm not saying he takes freaking Tippmann's job, but you've got that security there just in case you need to make a change. You're talking about other teams who are experiencing the same kind of issues right now. The Miami Dolphins are struggling with their center having some errant snaps. They might want to go ahead and snap up a quality center as well to back up their guy. I don't want to be in a situation to where we get to the season like opener and he went through a week of practice and couldn't get to one successful drive without having an errant snap. If that's the case, 100%. It's obviously we got to make a decision, and I would like us to have a quality backup in that room to assist. I don't want it to be Wes Schweitzer. I don't want him to be the guy back there doing the snaps. McGovern Xavier Newman. Right? No. People will talk about how freaking McGovern was trash. I'm not saying he was elite, but he was a top 15 center last year when he played for the Jets. I'll take that all day if he's going to go ahead and get the snap to Aaron Rodgers and let Aaron Rodgers do Aaron Rodgers things. So for me, it's concerning. But I'm hoping it's just me with PTSD, kind of losing my brain a little bit and freaking out, and that is going to be all right. But the Tippmann situation, if you're not concerned about it, man, I don't know how you're doing it, and I'm envious. I wish I could be you because I am concerned about it because he could literally get our quarterback killed the way he's freaking snapping the ball over his head. So I'm concerned about that. But other than that, Joe Tippmann has excelled in blocking. He's been pretty good in pass pro, been really, really good in the run blocking. He's been really good in communicating to the rest of the offensive line. But that particular aspect of snapping the ball is a very important piece of playing center in the NFL, and that's very concerning.
Yeah, Gunny, I completely agree with bringing in McGovern there. Now, it's funny because in terms of our offensive line, right, for the past, I don't know how many years, at least a decade, around a decade, we every single summer it feels like, oh, this edge rusher got through to and sacking the quarterback in terms of the summertime. And this year is so much different. Now, this is the worst thing that I've heard of all camp is that Tippmann is snapping the ball high. If this is the only issue that we have on the offensive line this year, in the beginning, of course, obviously, hopefully it gets fixed. But if that's the biggest problem we have right now, I think that's solid right now because if Tippmann can somehow week 1 solve this, and that was our biggest issue all summer for the offensive line, I would love that. If that was the only problem in our offensive line is that Tippmann was snapping the ball high, sometimes that would be phenomenal for me.
Yeah, and you're right about that, right? Like in terms of what you've heard out of camp, in terms of the back and forth between the defense and the offense, you're seeing a legitimate team type of practice where the old homage of iron sharpens iron is happening right in front of our eyes. Everybody's getting better on a regular. Even Aaron Rodgers today didn't have his best game because, as they put it, the pressure was getting to him. The windows are too tight for those throws. You want to hear that from your team as a whole. If the offense is cooking your defense all the time, you're worried. Yeah. I was worried freaking the first couple of team practices because freaking DJ Reed kept getting cooked by double moves by freaking Garrett Wilson. And I get it. It's Garrett Wilson, but I was just like, did he lose a step? How is there this much separation each time Wilson's getting the ball? But obviously things have calmed down a little bit, and he stepped his game up, had a couple of lockdown snaps against Garrett Wilson today. I mean, heck, they fought about it because it was so locked down. But nevertheless, this is what you want to hear, that the defense is getting the best of the offense is getting the best of the defense. It means they're getting better each snap, each rep. Each day, they're getting better some way, somehow. So I'm excited for it. I've loved what I've seen. And if the only thing we can really complain about right now is the fact that Joe Tippmann is scaring us with a couple of errant pass of snaps during practice in August, like you said, you want that. That's the kind of stuff you're hoping for. But just to touch base on it, there was some concerns about Tyron Smith not freaking practicing the last couple of days. Listen, he's fine. I think Coach Sala came out and said, like, yeah, he had some tightness in his lower extremities last week. We're not going to push him. He could have practiced if he wanted to, but they're not going to see the point in using quality freaking minutes of this guy in practice. We know Tyron Smith is Tyron Smith. He can play football. He can play left tackle. He's elite when he's on the field. Making sure he stays on the field is the main priority. So today they brought him in and they eased him back into it because he didn't practice for three days last week. He wasn't injured. He did all the individual drills, but the team drills, they kind of sat him out. So relax, everybody. I saw a lot of people on Twitter starting to freak out a little bit, but he's fine. Coach Sala said he's fine.
He'll be all right.
He's good. We're trying to go ahead and limit his freaking reps now so we can go ahead and maximize those reps when it comes to the actual NFL season.
100%.
Right. Okay. So then now we're going to QB, quarterback. I mean, QB1, Aaron Rodgers. Oh man, there's so much to talk about. Then you got Tyrod Taylor. Listen, Tyrod Taylor, I think, is such an underrated or underappreciated acquisition for us this offseason. I know when you grab guys like Tyron Smith and you grab guys like Mike Williams who are going to be impactful in game, hopefully every freaking game, you don't really want to see Tyrod Taylor ever step out there because that means Aaron Rodgers is not out there. But Tyrod Taylor backing up Aaron Rodgers is an incredible thing for us to have as a security blanket. I was talking to, I want to say it was Dano. So Dano and I were having a conversation about this in terms of how good Tyrod Taylor is. Listen, if we can still make the playoffs, this Jets roster is so good, we can still make the playoffs. If we, knock on wood, if we happen to lose Aaron Rodgers, or if we keep Aaron Rodgers and we just have a banged-up offensive line. So that means if Rodgers is not there, but Tyrod Taylor's back there behind the good offensive line, we're going to make the playoffs. The dude is that good. He's a football player. He's an NFL caliber starter. He's better than any quarterback we've had on this roster over the last freaking 4 years. And he's our backup. He's number 2. But then after him, you've got a guy, Andrew Peasley, and then Adrian Martinez. And then right down there is Jordan Travis, who we're hoping is going to be a gem. But I'm glad he's the 5th option at quarterback right now. I don't want him to play a single snap. Let that man just get better.
Yeah, red shirt.
Yeah, but Andrew Peasley and Adrian Martinez have been, showing some signs of life with the second team and the third team. Again, I don't ever want it to get down to that. I don't ever want to see these guys get out there. But let's be honest. Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor are QB1 and QB2. They do make the oldest quarterback room in the NFL, the oldest quarterback duo in the NFL. How do you feel about the quarterback room, man?
I'll put it like this, Gunny. If we had a healthy Tyrod Taylor last year, we would have won a minimum of 10 games at 100%. The start of the season.
100%.
This year, God forbid, obviously, I don't wish this at all. I want Rodgers to play 20 games this year and win the Super Bowl.
Facts.
But God forbid if he goes down, I'm confident that Tyrod Taylor can come in and win many, many games. Obviously, he wouldn't win as many games as Rodgers, but I am confident that Tyrod Taylor can run this offense and do it very well. I'm very confident in him and his abilities. And then in terms of the future with Jordan Travis, we'll see where obviously in the near future, a couple years, 3 years from now, if he can step up and be able to learn from Rodgers, that'll be phenomenal. And who better to learn than from Rodgers, right? So, if he's got it, he's going to have it. He's in the investment piece there. But right now, our quarterback room, I am very, very confident in number 1 and number 2.
Without question. And the piece that you said that I really love is the fact that Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor being the teachers, the mentors for a Jordan Travis. I don't think that can be expressed any other way, right? A quarterback to actually sit back and not only learn from a GOAT, but learn from another very successful quarterback who's played at a high level at the NFL level, taking a little bit from both of their games because he is a very mobile quarterback. He's got the dynamic ability to use his legs like a Tyrod Taylor, but he's also a playmaker that you've seen him make some pretty awesome throws with his arm as well. I'm not saying he's the next Aaron Rodgers or anything like that, but being able to learn from those guys to kind of mold his game, understanding how to approach the game on a regular basis, because you've got these 2 veterans in front of you, you couldn't ask for a better situation. I hope we don't see him for the next couple of years. And then when freaking Aaron Rodgers wins his second Super Bowl for us and decides to hang it up, Tyrod Taylor freaking retires because he's got 2 years under contract with us right now. Then we can go ahead and bring in Jordan Travis to take the reins. That's how I want it to be. I want it to be a seamless Green Bay Packers-like transition the way they've been able to do it the last 3 franchise quarterbacks that they've gotten their hands on. So I'm with you, man. I love the quarterback situation we're currently in right now. The only thing you're worried about, of course, is health. You want those guys to be able to both stay healthy. Both of them. Well, Tyrod Taylor has more of an injury history. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old, going on 41. So you've got some concerns there. But that's why you've got that big, beefy offensive line to keep those guys upright. And you got incredible weapons like a Breece Hall to go ahead and kind of complement those guys too when things get a little hairy. Which brings us to the running back room where we've got – I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to say something that people might think I'm crazy when I say it. But for the time being, we've got Breece Hall, we've got Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and fighting for potentially RB4 is going to be Israel Abanikanda. I don't think Valadez makes a team. I just don't think he brings enough to the table. But somebody might shake loose during training camp that could potentially be competition for Abanikanda. But the top 3 guys, specifically the top 2 guys, I got to say I'm pretty excited about. How do you feel about the running back room?
I'm feeling great, man. Did you notice that we don't have a fullback for the first time in, like, I think quite a few years?
It's been 4 years, 3 years.
Yeah, so no more fullbacks. Dude, I'm gonna be honest with you here. The fact that Braylon Allen is coming on and being our number 2 running back is just amazing to me. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really high on him in the draft. I thought we should have taken another receiver at that point or another position, but I am so glad that I'm not the GM of this team and that Joe Douglas made the decision to bring in Braylon Allen. He's been crushing it at camp this year, and he's earned that number 2 spot already. Like we said earlier, like Gunny and I were talking about earlier, when it comes to the first depth chart, rookies typically don't make it to the second team. They're usually buried.
Yep.
And Braylon Allen is already second string running back. He's already number 2. And I feel like the Breece Hall and the Braylon Allen, even though we had guys like Dalvin Cook last year, I feel like this duo right here is going to be crazy good this season. I think that they're going to do really well together. I think they're young. And it's 2024 now. The past 5 years or so, it's always about the young guys.
Yep.
So feeding them the ball, Breece Hall and Braylon Allen, I think they were calling themselves killer bees because it's Breece and Braylon. Yep. So these killer bees, man, I'm telling you, they're going to be going after this year, and we're going to have that ground and pound run game. I feel like we're going to have a ground and pound run game, and the play action is where Rodgers is going to make his money. I feel like that's where we should be headed towards in our offense. I feel like that's how we should be making our money this year. Isaiah Davis, he's in college, he was a jackrabbit in college. He did pretty well at the combine, which is one of the reasons why we drafted him. He's been returning some kicks too, so he's kind of like that dual threat there. So he's a very vital piece to this roster, and he's already the 3rd running back ahead of, like you were saying, Izzy Abanikanda, who is just kind of melting away, kind of going away.
Yeah, pretty much.
On this team. So we'll see if he even makes the team here, Izzy. But I'm really liking the top 3 guys here, and if Izzy can make the team and kind of pick it up, we'll see. But honestly, I don't even really care because Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, and even Isaiah Davis, those 3 guys, man, I'm telling you, they're putting in some work this summer, and they're going to be punishing teams because they are huge. And Braylon Allen is massive, guys. He is only, I think, 20 years old. He's a very young kid. So he's got plenty.
Youngest player in the NFL.
Youngest player in the NFL. Yep. This kid is a bruiser. I'm telling you, he's going to be. If you watch him, guys, during the preseason, one comp that I had for him is Chris Ivory. He is going to be punishing linebackers. Don't even think about it. If you're a cornerback trying to take this guy out, you can forget about it. He's going to run you over. This kid is going to be really good.
So I'm going to say it. I think when it comes to the offensive player of the year, I've been on record talking about Breece Hall being the offensive player of the year this year. I think he's a hell of a weapon. I do believe he's an elite running back in the NFL. I also said that he was going to overtake Christian McCaffrey as RB1 in the NFL this year behind this freaking offensive line and with Aaron Rodgers making defenses play honest defense. And then we drafted Braylon Allen, who I liked. I'm with you, though. I thought wide receiver was much more of a need, but I liked the kid. I thought he was RB2 in this draft. So getting him in the 5th, I wasn't too upset about it, but I really wanted a wide receiver. You and I were going back and forth, like screaming at the TV, freaking those last few rounds, get a goddamn wide receiver. But I didn't expect him to look this good this fast. And I get it, running back is it's one of the easier positions to transition to the NFL, but I'm talking about this kid is doing things you only really see veterans doing in terms of his ability to do things you didn't really see him do much in college, like run routes. The dude, as big as he is, has some very nimble feet, is running some really nice routes out of the backfield. Catching the ball out of the backfield. He didn't do much of that when he was in college. The kid's got some real soft hands. Like literally, he hasn't dropped a pass thrown his way yet. He's looked really good, being able to go ahead and adjust to the ball, make catches. He's been running with power, running with speed. He's 245 pounds at 6'2". And the dude, when they say he runs a 4.5 40, like, oh, it's a 4.49 or whatever it was, the dude runs all of a 4.49. But it looks more menacing because he's 6'2", 245 pounds coming at you. But this is where I really got impressed with him. You're seeing him pick up the blitz when it comes to training camp. You're seeing him step out and blocking, like holding up against guys like JJ, holding up against guys like Will McDonald. Like he's blocking for Aaron Rodgers. And if Aaron Rodgers is starting to feel comfortable with the rookie in terms of getting him the ball, calling adjustments in the kid, like those aspects of his game surprised me. I wasn't expecting that at this level. So I thought he was going to be the thunder to Breece's lightning, but I've gotten to a point now where I'm looking at this and I'm thinking to myself, last year when Breece came off the field as RB1, we all were like, oh, God, here we go, Dalvin Cook. Or it was just we didn't know what to expect. We weren't hopeful. I don't think the level of play drops off much with Braylon Allen stepping onto the field as RB2. I think he's going to be the perfect complement of when Breece is out there, teams are going to say, oh, shit. Okay, Breece Hall, what do we expect? When Braylon Allen is out there, we'll be like, oh, shit, Braylon Allen, what do we expect? He can catch the ball. He can run routes. He can run through you. He can run around you. The kid is I mean, you say Chris Ivory, but I thought Chris Ivory was more one-dimensional in terms of being a bowling ball, just running through people, punishing runners. I think he can do this, but the fact that he's so nimble on his feet, you've seen him take a couple of freaking jukes, juking people out of their shoes in training camp. I think the running back room is stellar because Isaiah Davis, who's had some fumbling issues in training camp, has cleaned it up. He's been held accountable. You saw Aaron Rodgers pretty much pull him from one of the rotations for snap count because he was lined out of position. So I think like the holding accountable aspect is getting to him because the last couple of practices, he's made really, really big plays. And I think he had the best run thus far in training camp. I think practice for yesterday, for Monday. Isaiah Davis is going to be a compliment. So I think Breece Hall is the elite talent on this roster in terms of the running back room. I think he's an elite talent. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But I think Braylon Allen is that really good to great talent right behind him. I can't say elite yet. I want to see it when bullets are actually flying. But what you've seen right now in training camp with that kid at 20 years old, he's playing grown man football. And I'm not talking about like his size either. I'm talking about like his IQ, his ability to understand route concepts, to be able to adjust, to pick up the blitz. Those are big boy things at the NFL level that running backs, like Pro Bowl caliber running backs, struggle to do that. He's showing you he can do that against a really, really good defensive line. So I'm intrigued about what this running back room is going to look like. And if I had to say one reason why Garrett Wilson might not see 2,000 yards is because of those two running backs. It's because of the ability to just say, you know what, let me just hand the ball off to these running backs. They can go ahead and shove it down the throat to the defense. That might be the only reason why a guy like Garrett Wilson does not hit 2,000 plus yards this year is because we don't need to throw the ball that much because we got these two monsters back here to feed the ball to.
Yeah, I agree. I think you hit it on the head there, Gunny.
Man. So that's the offense. I mean, going to the defense, I don't think there's really any surprises, really, right? But I got to say this. Jermaine Johnson being edge one, obviously, on the team. And I know we're still dealing right now with the whole situation with Reddick. But I've been a big believer that Will McDonald was going to be the other edge rusher on the other side of Jermaine Johnson, but
Mhm.
they've got Michael Clemens as the other edge. I think this is the first time I looked at this and I shook my head trying to understand what the logic is here. How do you feel about the edge situation right now? They got pretty much Jermaine Johnson as a starting edge, Michael Clemens on the other side, but backing up Jermaine is Will McDonald. Tack McKinley's backing up Michael Clemens. How do you feel about this when talking
Yeah.
about the defensive line?
Yeah. So look, here's how it is with the defensive line here, especially when it comes to the edge rushing, right? Because obviously we know Quinn Williams is in the middle there. We just signed Javon Kinlaw. If you guys noticed, I think it was Jermaine Johnson's first year, his rookie year, in 2022. He didn't get too much playing time, and the reason why that was is because the Jets wanted him to not only be able to rush the passer, but also be able to earn his keep in the run game. And I think in terms of the Jets defense, I think that's what Robert Saleh, Saleh and Ulbrich want to have in their every down edge rushers, is that they can stop the run and be able to rush the passer. And being Will McDonald being as light as he is, being around 230, 235 pounds, I think that is a major factor when it comes to his ability to do both of those things. Now, I'm not knocking him. I think he's an excellent pass rusher. I think he's going to do fantastic things in the NFL. If he were to gain that 10, 15, 20 pounds of muscle, I think that he would be able to just completely dominate in the NFL. I think he would really propel himself forward, and I think he would earn his keep at his position for more time at that edge spot. Now, Clemens, to be honest with you, I'm not a big Clemens fan. I think Clemens is he's okay, but the fact that he's first team edge rusher right now, I'm really not liking that whatsoever. I didn't like his antics last year when everything was going down. He was cursing at fans and stuff, and
Playing
just
around and stuff. Yep.
playing around. But that's just me. That's just my personal opinion. I don't like players that when they're getting their butts beat, they're worried about other teams and other fans. I'm not a big supporter of that. So if you're getting your butt beat, you better keep your mouth shut and you better focus on the game, not turning around and worried about who's talking about at your back and stuff. Now, obviously the elephant in the room here is Hassan Reddick. When he comes back in, man, he's going to be playing every single snap, or at least many snaps. Obviously, we have the defense where we don't have edge rushers playing every snap, but he's going to be playing a lot of snaps. So I do think that Will McDonald is going to be able to rotate in a lot this year. I have him down for, I think if depending on his playing time, I think Will McDonald and Jermaine Johnson are going, and Hassan Reddick can potentially hit double-digit sacks. I really do think that's going to happen. I really do, in terms of as long as they are rotating and they're those three guys are our main focus, I think they can all hit double-digit sacks this year, and that would be tremendous for this defense.
Wow. Okay. All right. Yeah, now you pretty much nailed it in the head in terms of Michael Clemens. I'm not a fan. I would have rather seen Will McDonald being on the opposite side of Jermaine Johnson, but the questions marks are still there. I think when he did his exit interview, he was talking about how he wanted to come back at 250 pounds. And I think he's sitting at 235, if I'm not mistaken. So about 15 pounds short of where he said he wanted to be, which leads me to believe that he was told by the coaching staff, hey, man, we're going to need you to bulk up a little bit. So he didn't quite hit the mark. Yeah, Michael Clemens to me, man, has been a lot of bark, no bite. When we did draft him from Texas A&M, I was excited because, again, this was a guy who was dominating at Texas A&M. It's the SEC. He was doing some great things. But then you kind of look back and you realize, well, you were also like 25 years old playing against freaking 19-year-old kids, 20-year-old kids. That might have been the reason why you seem to go ahead and be dominating so much. You really haven't seen much of that at the NFL level. Yes, he's had a couple of nice plays on special teams. We've got to celebrate the guy. But last year, to me, I'm with you on that. It agitated the crap out of me, man. I think the Jets fan base has been beaten up. It's brutal. And to see on the sideline one of your players who's getting paid to care about this, who's getting paid to play the game, playing around with the freaking crowd talking about like F you. No, not you, F you. That actually agitated me because, again, this is a guy up to that point who people were saying was serious. He looked like he was a stone cold hero when he was walking anywhere. And then for him to do that to me during that time in that game was infuriating. But
I mean, some fans loved it, which is fine. But me personally,
I did not.
I personally didn't like it.
I didn't, and that's all I'm saying. Like, you're right. If some people liked it and it didn't bother them, that's okay. For me, it was just like, really, like you thought this was what to do now when we're getting our ass kicked. I wasn't a fan of it. But in terms of the defensive line, man, we know Q is a freaking all pro. We're not worried about that. Guys like Javon Kinlaw, Tad McKinley, and Leonard
McKinley.
Taylor is another one that you're kind of excited for, right? In this particular freaking line. But Tad McKinley's been a monster. He's been disrupting play after play after play. So in terms of some of the other pieces on here, we know who Q is. We know who Solomon Thomas is. We know who Tenzel. We know these guys. They're going to be solid corner pieces. Quentin Williams is an all-pro. I expect an increase in production. Javon Kinlaw, who's dealt with a lot of injuries his first couple of years in the league, kind of like fell off a little bit as a potential pass rusher, but now he gets a chance to kind of rotate, and you're next to Quentin Williams. Good things can happen. I like the addition. I want to see it pan out. But other than the edge rushers, how do you feel about the rest of this defensive line?
In terms of the depth, I'm really ecstatic for it. We brought Solly Thomas back. Tanzel Smart, he's probably not gonna. He'll probably be a practice squad guy.
Yep.
Although I do like him there on the practice squad. Lecky Fotu, we brought him in. He's gonna be that second piece there to be that run stuffer behind Kinlaw. Kinlaw and Fotu are going to be really good for us in that run stuffing game there. So him, Kinlaw and Fotu and Quentin Williams and Solly Thomas, I am ecstatic for them being all in the middle. And then of course we have Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, and we're going to have Hassan Reddick there on the edge. I don't think you can really ask for a better defensive line than that, really, especially when Reddick comes back. I really do think, like I said, I'm a lot higher than maybe most people, but I do think all three of those guys can hit double-digit sacks this year. I don't see why not. So in terms of the rest of the defense, though, you asked me about the rest of it, right? One thing that really stood out to me was take a look at the cornerback 4 there, and that is Mr. Quantez Stiggers, the Canadian footballer, the MVP from last year, who we just drafted. Quantez Stiggers already being cornerback 4 over Jarek Bernard-Converse, and some even have him over Brandon Eccles already. That is phenomenal. We have been talking about extend DJ Reed, extend DJ Reed, extend DJ Reed. We may not even have to extend DJ Reed come the end of the season. Now, obviously, I like Reed. Most fans do. I'm not saying Reed is a bad player, but the fact that Quantez Stiggers is lighting it up and he's, young and we just drafted him, we have flexibility and we have options there. So I'm penning him down as my number one guy to look for this Saturday when we play the Commanders in preseason. I am so excited to see this kid play. I want to see what the hype is about, and I want to see if this kid is a real deal. Now, obviously, the weak point in our defense, and we've been a top 3 defense over the past 3 years. We've been a top 5, over the past 3 years. Specifically over the last couple of years, we've been, I think, 2 and 4, or 3 and 4. Yep. This defense is going to be lights out again this year. We all know that. And the fact that our offense is going to be firing on all cylinders, we have a chance to be the number 1 or number 2 defense in the NFL. And our weak point, the weakest point on our defense is the safety position. I can knock that out right now. Chuck Clark's coming back. We all know he got injured last year. He's coming back. I think he's going to do great there in that spot. And we have Tony Adams, a young kid. He's been doing really well the past couple of years. The Jets staff really like him. He's been doing big things. We have Ashton Davis, who has been doing some pretty big things over the last year or so. And then we brought in Isaiah Oliver, and then we drafted Mr. Irrelevant, Jalen Key. So we'll see how the safety position comes out, but I really do think that that's our weakest point, and those players that I mentioned aren't even bad. The biggest thing, obviously, is we have Sauce Gardner, we have DJ Reed, and we have Michael Carter II. Those three guys, that trio right there, is by far the best trio cornerback in the NFL. We have the best cornerback room in the NFL. And then if Quantez Stiggers can come in at any moment and play at a high level, that would be tremendous. And then in terms of our linebacking core, we have Quincy Williams, who was snubbed in Madden. I don't even think he made the top 10
Bruh,
for linebackers.
I was like, what in the, you know what? Different show for that one.
Right. Yeah, that's entirely different show. But Quincy Williams, obviously, he's been lighting it up. We all know how good he is. We have CJ Mosley, team captain. And then one guy who I want to talk about here is Jamie Sherwood.
Yep.
Last year, not many Jet fans may have noticed this, but Jamie Sherwood put on a freaking show when he was asked to step up and be that linebacker 3, or even let's say Quincy Williams was out for some plays, or Mosley if he was injured for a little bit. He stepped up and he was able to make some big plays. I think his PFF score, and I know PFF isn't everything, but the last time I checked, Jamie Sherwood's PFF score was like a 76, which if you aren't familiar with PFF, anything over like a 68 is good. Anything over like a 75 is excellent. So if this kid is doing that well last year, imagine how good he's going to be when he's asked to be that linebacker 3 here in those sub packages. Or let's say if God forbid Williams went out or CJ Mosley went out, he's able to step up and be able to be a reliable linebacker. So I am so confident in this defense. I think there's just so much depth up and down this entire defense. I think we're in year what? This is Salah's
3.
Fourth year?
Oh,
or third year, sorry.
Fourth year Salah. Yep, going on 4 years.
Yeah, so this is going to be his 4th year on defense. So this defense has been cooking. This defense is going to do just fine. We have the opportunity to be the first or second best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, now without question. Really, you kind of touched base on a lot of the things I want to talk about when it came to the defense, but you're talking about the number 1 cornerback room in all of football. You got the number 3 linebacker room in all of football, the number 1 defensive line in all of football. These are all graded out in terms of PFN, PFF, like they've been graded these particular groups. Safety is that weak spot, but I think people forget, like, Chuck Clark was supposed to come in last year and be a game changer for us at the safety position. We got robbed of that because of the ACL injury. Kid looks good. No, I'm not kid. Grown man looks good. He looks good in training camp as well. Like, he has full range of motion. Ashton Davis is somebody who came out of nowhere. In fact, somebody tweeted out, the 180 that Ashton Davis has made should be studied, because it's ridiculous to see what we thought we had the first couple of years of this guy. And over the last year and a half, roughly, you saw a guy playing really, really good safety play. So he's the 4th safety, the 3rd safety coming out on the back end of a room that we're not too sure about. I think overall, this defense is going to feast. And I keep saying this, I can't say it enough, man. People don't realize this defense was built to get after the quarterback. Kind of hard to do whenever, your team can't get a lead or maintain a lead. This defense we're going to actually see at its peak this season, because the Jets are going to be playing with leads. It's going to happen. There's going to be games where we're up by 2 scores, and there's going to be things we've seen this defense do that we've never had a chance to see them do over the last couple of years. Because why? We didn't have the benefit, the ability to do so. I think Ulbrich actually came out and said something about there are specific sub packages that they've practiced, that this defense is dying to utilize, that they just couldn't use the last couple of years because the situation then presented itself. That situation was having a freaking lead that can allow him to have his guys go hunt quarterbacks. So I'm excited to go ahead and see that. I do believe this is going to be at worst a top 5 defense, but I believe it's the number 1 defense in football by season's end. When you break it down and you look at this roster, again, if health, being kind to us, I'm not naive enough to believe we're going to stay 100% healthy, but I'm just asking that the injury bug is kind to us this year. I think, honestly, the Jets finish out top 5 defense, top 5 special teams, top 10 offense. And I say top 10 offense as the floor for this team. I do believe they have the ability to be a top 5 offense as well, depending on which Aaron Rodgers we get. And that's going to go ahead and change the whole dynamic. This team, man, is loaded. In terms of talent, like you said earlier, this is probably the most talented roster I think I've ever seen as a Jets fan. I'm 39 years old. I've been a Jets fan since 1996. So this is probably to me the most talented roster I've ever personally seen. In terms of can they be the best team we've ever seen, that remains to be seen when the season gets here. They got to be able to put it all together. Yeah, on paper they look great, right? But again, football is played on the field, on the turf, not on paper. So we'll see if they're the best team we've ever seen. But I just think what this team can accomplish, man, this season, it's exciting to be here. Like, I'm excited for it, man. Like, I've worn the T-shirt. I'm ready to be heard again because I am bought in. Like you said earlier in the show, the stock market might have taken a massive dip the last couple of days, but I am high on Jet stock, man. I really am. I'm bought all the way in. What Joe Douglas has been able to do to turn this team from an expansion level roster to what it is now is just it's just a work of art. It's teach tape for how you're supposed to rebuild a roster. You know, it's got the perfect amount of veterans on it, a lot of youth, a lot of individuals that can go ahead and learn behind studs who've done it before. The Olu Fashanu pick to me was by far the right pick. You're already seeing great things coming out of camp with this kid. We were concerned about his ability to be an impact in the run game. He's opening up freaking holes in the run game that can attract a trailer can go ahead and run through. The kid wants to learn. He wants to get better. I just, you can't ask for a better situation or circumstance when your young left tackle comes in and he gets to sit and learn behind the technical expert that is a Tyron Smith. The Jets play the freaking 49ers in like 3 weeks. 3 weeks, the Jets play the 49ers.
I think it's 4 or 5.
4 weeks? 4 or 5 weeks?
Something like that, yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I'll say this, right? I think we were talking about this today. There's a chance that in 4 or 5 weeks when we play the 49ers, they'll be without Brandon Ayuk. It seems like Christian McCaffrey is dealing with an injury now as well. And then Trent Williams, contract issue, right? Mm-hmm. There's a chance they'll be without 3 impactful players on their offense come week 1. And let's not forget, the 49ers are a team that kind of start off slow to begin with. So to go ahead and have to deal with this right now, that's currently being an issue and a distraction during training camp, you have no idea how it's going to impact them as the season approaches us. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had the Jets losing that game. I did. I had the Jets losing that game against the 49ers. I looked at it in terms of the continuity that those guys had, right? I do believe they have better coaching, and I think we need to put ownership on that. I think when it comes to top rosters in the NFL, they have one of those top rosters in the NFL. But if you're talking about 3 major components on your offense that may not be available, or at least not available at full capacity to you come week 1, I think the Jets and again, I think the Jets are in every game this season. I don't think there's any game I look at and I'm like, we don't have a chance. But I now look at this game and I'm like, man, I thought the 49ers were going to go ahead and make this a game, but there's a chance here that we go in there and we've got a disoriented 49ers team that we got to go ahead and get through. And it can start, you know what I'm saying? It could start a little bit of a freaking domino effect, right? You come in there, you knock out the runner-ups to the Super Bowl last year. That does a lot of things for your team's confidence. These young guys start feeling themselves a little bit, and you don't know how they can go ahead and get things going. So for me, I love it here, man. Love it here.
Not to mention, Gunny, which I agree with everything you said. We're playing Monday Night Football. Don't you think that Aaron Rodgers? Obviously, I would rather it not be Monday Night Football, but Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be feeling a certain type of way on Monday night and week 1. So I feel like he's going to be going off no matter where he's playing, whether it's, I mean, I know we were heading out west, but I feel like he's going to go off, man. I really do.
Aaron Rodgers in prime time is a sight to behold. The dude shines brightest when all the lights are on him. And in the regular season, he actually does have a winning record against the 49ers. A lot of people always say, like, 49ers, they got his number figured out. No. In the playoffs, maybe. But this is week 1 of the regular season. Things kind of flip a little bit when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Look, like I said before, I don't think there's a single game that I look at and I think to myself, man, we don't have a chance. But if I'm being realistic, right, vice being overly optimistic, I don't believe the Jets are going to go 17-0, right, or 20-0. I don't think that's going to happen. There's going to be some losses on there. And for me to say they're going to lose week 1 against the runner up to the Super Bowl champion, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that's a slight at my team. But now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking to myself, man, I don't know. I think with all they're dealing with right now, you're talking about a great opportunity for the Jets to kind of walk in there, punch them in the mouth, and they just can't recover from it.
Mm-hmm.
Great Jets inside the box. Thank you for all your great points.
Yeah, I see. I've been watching the chat.
Yeah. I see Infrared and Sean, man, they're having some great conversations in the chat. I've been trying to go ahead and share them as they have them. But yeah, man.
Okay.
All right. Well, in a nutshell, right? So I told you an hour. We're at an hour and 20 minutes. That's the unofficial depth chart. The New York Jets play football on Saturday. I'm excited to watch it. I think all of us as Jets fans have been waiting for this to kind of see it come to fruition. It doesn't sound like Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing any in the offseason, any preseason games, which is fine by me. I'm okay with it. I would like for him to get a couple of snaps in, probably, the last preseason game, just because it is the 49ers we're talking about. But in all actuality, if we save him to week 1, so be it. Aaron Rodgers is the most experienced football player in the NFL. I think we'll be all right. But overall, man, this Jets roster, seeing the unofficial depth chart, just kind of breaks down just how much talent is riddled at every position group, and then some bright shining stars, right? And backing those guys, like, it's a lot of good, man. It's a lot of good, and to think we've gotten here from what we were just a couple of years ago, where we were, in my opinion, an expansion level talent. And to this is why we're seeing the New York Jets being deemed one of the top rosters in the NFL, because, man, like, it's complete night and day from what we had to deal with 3 years ago.
100%. 100%.
That's how fast Joe D has turned this roster around.
Yep.
Any last words for the Fanatics?
No. Listen, guys. I think that this team, again, is going to be going far this year. In my mind, we're going undefeated until we're not. So I really do think that we have a fantastic football team. I think that we should all be very happy with what we have. And listen, go Jets. We're gonna do some big things this year. As long as we stay healthy, I think that we have the right pieces in place to be able to go extremely far this year, extremely far. And we're gonna end that damn playoff drought. It has to happen. We're gonna end the drought, and we're gonna go. We're gonna be going all the way as long as we can stay healthy. So just trust the process, and I think this is finally gonna be it.
Yeah, listen, I've been on record in terms of saying that this is the year where we not only break the playoff drought, record, and we finally get into the playoffs, but I actually believe that we're going to be the AFC East champions. I look at, around the AFC East right now, you've got the Patriots, who's currently in a rebuild, the Bills, who are, they got Josh Allen, they got the best quarterback in our division, I give them that. But one thing I've learned about the NFL, especially with guys like, Bill Belichick, who's been deemed to be the greatest coach of all time, if you don't got the players, man, you can't win games. It's as simple as that. If you don't got the players, coaching can only do so much. You can't win games. Josh Allen right now, and I like their tight ends. I mean, Keon Coleman is somebody that could be exciting, right? But really, in terms of on the offensive side of the football, man, and even the defense side of the football, they've lost some key components last year. And I don't care what Bills fans tell you, man, they can live off of hope all they want to, but players win games. Players win games, not a player, unless you're Patrick Mahomes, which Josh Allen is not. Unless you're Patrick Mahomes, players win games. So I feel really good about that.
Oh, sorry. Not to mention we beat them without Rodgers last year.
That's also a fact. Right, we beat them with Zachy Poo at the helm. I think the Miami Dolphins are the biggest competitor to us for the AFC East crown. I think that in terms of having the players, they've got the players. I mean, they just got freaking Tyreek Hill, number one freaking player in the NFL, voted on by the players. So I know a lot of us don't agree with him being number one, but when the players are saying like, hey, he's that dude, I mean, okay, cool. They're not GMs for a reason, but it's obvious that more players in the NFL are afraid of what Tyreek Hill can do to them than what other players can do. So it is what it is. I think it's going to be down to the Jets and the freaking Dolphins. I really do. I think ultimately I trust a healthy Aaron Rodgers more than I trust Tua, and that's what it might come down to. I think our defense obviously is going to be better, but in terms of what their offense has proven, man, they can light up a scoreboard, man. They can light up a scoreboard, and I think that's going to be the catalyst of what makes it a neck and neck race for the AFC East, with the Jets ultimately squeaking by and getting it. I think they make the playoffs. I think they're going to make the playoffs as a wild card. Whoever winds up winning, if it's us or them,
Yeah.
whoever
Yep.
they can make it the wild card. But I got the Bills coming in third, and then the Patriots freaking dead last. And again, I'll give you the credit all day, Bills fans. You've got the best quarterback in our division, but I'm sorry, you just the rosters just don't stack up. You had to pay freaking Josh Allen. You're going through that stage now where you have to eat a lot of that cost. Your window was there for you. You won the AFC East for the last 3-4 years. You couldn't do anything with it. Unfortunately, windows closed, and I think their window was closed while the Jets and the Dolphins have taken massive steps forward. So for me, it's Jets, Dolphins, Bills, freaking Patriots, and I feel that confident because of not our coaching. I still think there's a lot to hope for when it comes to the coaching. I know the defense side of the coaching and the special teams we feel great about. We still have questions at head coach, and we still have questions at offense, but we've got the players, right? We've got the players with the experience, and that counts for a lot. You've seen freaking Peyton Manning drag Adam Gase into a Super Bowl. So I feel like Aaron Rodgers is capable of doing the same thing for Coach Saleh. But again, you're hearing that he's done a 180 and he's helping out the offense now too when he's trying to go. He's evolved as a head coach. So I want to see it when the season gets here. But right now, when it comes to coaching, it's I just have some question marks. But when it comes to the roster, I don't. I feel really, really good about this roster. I feel really, really good about Joe D, and I'm excited for football to actually get here in a few weeks.
So, Gunny, quick question before we head out. Do you have a record prediction, or is that like you're going to be doing another video on that in the near future?
Yeah, no, I am, but I'm going to do a breakdown of which ones are that we're winning and losing. But yeah, I got the Jets going 13-4.
Oh,
I got us
13,
going 13-4. Yeah,
nice.
I got our floor as 10 games. But 13-4 is where I have
13.
us at. Originally, it was 12-5, but I just switched that up because of the 49er situation, if I'm being honest with you.
That makes sense.
The 49er situation was a game I had us as a loss, and I had us at 12-5. But now the more I'm seeing what's going on, and I watch a lot of like content creators from other like teams, right? And there's a guy, Jesse, he does 49ers content, and the dude is dead on. So him and the coach were on their show yesterday or the day before talking about the 49ers situation, and they've got the pulse of the team. They know a lot of the people in that area, and it just seems like there's a chaotic movement where they're even starting to step back from like, I think we might struggle to make the playoffs based off of just some of the things they're hearing and dealing with. So when you start getting the pulse of like the fan base that's bought into their team and who are usually pretty positive, getting a little bit more like, man, are we as good without Ayuk or if Trent, or now I'm starting to feel like, okay, there's some chinks in the armor. So it made me bump up my prediction to 13 wins. I'm at 13 now for the Jets.
But man, I would be ecstatic if we hit 13.
Me too.
My previous one was 12. If we can hit 12, I think we should win the AFC East. 13, man, I would be over the moon if we hit 13. That would be fantastic.
I think the floor is 10 games for us, though. I think the floor is 10 games, and that's for the wild card. I think if we win 10 games, it's not enough to win the AFC East. I think either us or the Dolphins will hit that 11 plus win total. So we've got, that's why I had us at 12-5 winning it, but now the 49ers thing got me feeling a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more optimistic. Got us at 13-4.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I would love that.
Man, if only. Man, all right. Well, yeah, man, Mike, I appreciate you, man, for chopping it up with me, dog. I mean, you and I, we talk every day, so we'll continue the conversation as always. So the time on deck is 9:38 p.m. Central Time. We've hung out with you guys for the last hour and a half. Again, if you're not tracking, the channel is now offering memberships. Got some great articles. We've got a fantasy football league for channel members, and some giveaways specifically to channel members as well. So some new giveaways are coming out for this season. I'm actually trying to hit 2,000. So if you're watching, man, jump on YouTube if you're on Twitter or if you're on Twitch or you're on Instagram. Like and subscribe. I'm trying to go ahead and get to 2,000 subs this season. That is my goal. I've got an awesome giveaway for once I get to that point. That's only going to be for the 2,000 subscribers that are obviously have subscribed to the team. Once you get to 2,000, 2001 and beyond, you're not eligible. So get to 2,000 subs, and it's going to be a pretty awesome giveaway. You know what? I'm gonna just say it. It's an autographed Joe Namath jersey. It's going to be an autographed Joe Namath jersey. In fact, since we're already here.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Gunny. Ooh.
I've been holding on to this for quite some time, waiting for me to get to 2,000. I was on a streak, and it kind of slowed down a little bit. So, trying to get to that 2K subscribers. And then once I do, you're entered to win the autographed Joe Namath jersey. We're going to figure out how to go ahead and make it to where, it's given out once we hit 2K. So again, if you're watching, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Twitch, if you're on Instagram, jump over to YouTube, do me a favor, like and subscribe. I'm trying to go ahead and give this thing away. I got to get to 2K to do it, but I've got some awesome giveaways for my channel members as well. I'll be announcing those directly to channel members once we hit specific points. But for the Fantasy Football League as well, it's free to enter for channel members, and there's going to be an autographed Sauce Gardner jersey that goes to the champion of that particular league. So again, doing some fun stuff as the season gets here. So if you haven't been following me, if you're not subbed to the channel, do yourself a favor, get subbed. I mean, all you got to do is support, and then I'm going to go ahead and give back. So appreciate you guys. It was fun. That's the end of the Hangar Hangout. I think episode 19. Man, this has been fun. And I'm going to bring Mike on more because the energy between me and Mike is always a good time. It's always fun. And he's finally starting to settle down a little bit after taking the summer off and vacationing. But, that's it. Any last words, Mike?
Thanks for having me on, Gunny. Again, as a fan of the channel, as a fan of the show, and as your friend, I'm so honored to be on here. And you know me, I'm always down to talk Jets. So anytime that you want me on, I can stop in. But thank you so much for having me. Thanks, guys, in the chat. And go Jets.
Go Jets. Hey, appreciate you guys in the chat, man. Y'all make this stuff fun. We'll hang out with you guys next week.